My aunt, she loved color. She was also the first person I was able to see decorating in my family. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm her. Like, I feel like she was excited about finally having her own space and had a budget and just really buying beautiful things. And she was also buying a lot of fake flowers, creating beautiful bouquet, like beautiful floral arrangements. And I just saw this creativity in her. And I think that really light up something in me.
Welcome to Talk Shop. I'm Ariel Okin, a New York-based interior designer, writer, and editor, looking to bring a little bit of magic into our homes every day. After years as a writer and editor in the interiors world, I founded my own editorial site, Fenimore Lane, in 2020, and the Talk Shop interview series was born. Each week, I delve into the personal experiences of the top interior designers and tastemakers around the globe. This week, we are diving fully into the world of color as I welcome the fabulous designer and author Dabito to the podcast. His bold use of color and eclectic maximalism has cemented him as an always refreshing and ever-evolving influence in the world of interior design. In 2010, Dabito launched his blog, Old Brand New, an outlet to express himself and channel a broad range of creative mediums. Before jumping into design, his background varied, taking shape in multimedia art forms like printmaking, photography, and graphic design. Since then, Old Brand New amassed a devoted following across multiple platforms and has been recognized by Better Homes and Gardens, The New York Times, Architectural Digest, and House Beautiful, before expanding into his own design studio. Dabito's guiding philosophy is that everyone can harness the power of color and meaningful objects to tell a moving and personal story in their home. He splits his time between Los Angeles and New Orleans with his husband, Ryan, and their fur babies, Luigi, Sterling, and Verbena. Please join me as we welcome Dabito to the podcast. Dabito, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're on.
Yeah. Hey. I'm excited to be here. Glad we're going to get to chat.
Same. Well, to kick off the conversation, we ask everyone who comes on, can you describe your style in 3 words or less?
So my style, I would say it's eclectic, colorful, and a bit bohemian.
I would agree with all of those. And we'll get into the color piece in a little bit because we have lots of color questions.
Maximalist. Yes.
Yes. And for those who are listening, give us a little rundown. Like, tell us about yourself, where you are at this point in your career, what your day-to-day is right now.
So I'm a designer, artist, also an author. I have my book called Old Brand New, came out 2 years ago, and it's really all about colorful homes for maximal living. And right now I am building my new home in New Orleans.
Oh, fun.
And that's very exciting. That's probably my highlight of, 2024.
Yeah.
Going to 2025, I think this is a really new, exciting project for me, something I've never done, building, from the ground up.
Yeah.
Learning a lot, just from, it's really interesting how typically, you move into a house, you live in it, and then you start to maybe have ideas, design. But with building a new home, I'm just like, oh gosh, I have to plan everything out all at the same time. I'm like, I don't know. I want to feel the space before I start painting the space or figuring out all these things.
That makes sense. It's almost so much freedom that it's a little daunting.
It is. It took me even the electrical, the lighting, the light design, the light placements, all of that took me. I was so scatterbrained because it was just such a big task.
Yeah.
It took me about 4 months to just knock that down because I was just procrastinating. I'm like, you know what? I got it.
Yeah.
And finally, or I'll start one room and then I'll go into another room because it's a 2-story home. And I'll start in a bedroom and then I'll kind of mosey all of a sudden into the kitchen. And then it's one of those things how when you move or pack to a new place, when you move, you should always move and pack everything in one room, shut the door, and then move into another room, pack everything, shut that door.
No, but you kind of spread out and pinball everywhere and then it gets chaotic.
Exactly. Instead, I'm I'm going to go into this closet. Wait, you know what? Let me go into this other closet in this other room. And all of a sudden, 10 hours later, I'm like, wait, I don't see any progress. It's because I'm just running around.
Well, designing for yourself also when you're a designer is so hard. I think it's the hardest type of project.
Yeah, it is because there's so much pressure. This is your own space and you have so much freedom and you really want to just outdo yourself every time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I don't know about you, but I like to just always constantly challenge myself. Like, okay, let's get out of my comfort zone. Let's get out of my, color palette that I'm always gravitating towards.
Yeah, it's how you grow as a designer, and but sometimes doing it in your own home, it's like your home is like your lab, right? Like you're
Right.
experimenting, but then you get like decision paralysis, and it's hard.
But it's fun.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. I get to, I mean, my team is great over here. The build team is just fantastic. They've been dealing with my change orders, which is actually not as many as I thought I would be doing, but they were here and there just last minute, which I know always thrills the builders. I don't know if you've seen that one meme where there's like a builder is like, once the elevation, the sets are in, do not talk to me.
I know. The change order is really, I mean, anytime we come to a contractor with a change order, we're like afraid because
I know.
they get very grumpy. But let's go back in time for a minute to 2010. So you started your blog, Old Brand New, which is also the name of your book. You were living in LA. You started as an outlet to express yourself. Tell us a little bit about how that started, how it evolved into the business that you have now, and sort of where the impetus came for starting Old Brand New.
So Old Brand New was born out of the idea of just, for me, finally living on my own and having a lot of fun, decorating my own space, carving out my own space, prioritizing my own space, because I've always loved that. I always wanted my own space. I've never, growing up, I shared my bedroom with my mom and my sister and my dad. And so I didn't have my own space. I moved into the living room when I was like my senior year, finally, and I was like, okay, this is my space now. I get to finally have a little desk. And I was, I made it very multifunctional. I had a desk, my sofa was my bed, and then I had this little corner. It was like my creative corner, but also my like meditation corner too, just for me to just
Wow.
be me. Yes. And it was
That's
also like,
amazing.
and there was also like an entertainment system with a karaoke machine for my whole family. So it was
very multifunctional.
very multifunctional. And everybody was up in my biz. I didn't have any privacy. So finally, back in 2010, I finally, after college, moved back home, and I just had so much fun decorating on a budget. I was thrifting nonstop. I mean, I was a vintage vulture, and I kid you not, I would go to 10 thrift stores a day. I would just hit up every, because I would see other people doing the same thing. I'm like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
someone's here. Uh-oh, no, she's eyeing that piece, and I gotta go grab it. And so really, it was such a fun time thrifting and finding really cool pieces and mixing it all up into my space. And I documented about it. And honestly, Old Brand New was also about me sharing my passion for photography and printmaking and graphic design. It's what I studied in school.
Right. You have experience in sort of like a bunch of different multimedia creative mediums, which is amazing.
Yeah, I really just love art. I love creating, and my background was in printmaking. So I really wanted to bring that into my space. And I love creating art for my own. It was really expensive to buy art. So I would just create my own art for my own home and really celebrate that and celebrate my own artwork from like college and all of that. And little by little, it just grew and grew. It took a while. I mean, I don't think I got my first partnership deal until like maybe 2015.
Wow. I mean, you've been doing this for 15 years.
I know. It's going to be 15 next year. And it's still, the blogging has been, taking a little, like most blogs, right? They're all in the little back burner, just kind of chilling there. But it's still a really great space. It's an archive for me. Like I love to be able to just go on Google and search, at that one kitchen, and I can find my own things so easily, way easier than from my computer.
That's so funny. I mean, it also like, I think there's something really amazing about having an editorial outlet as somebody in a creative field. It's just another way to get thoughts about design out into the universe. It's just a different way of still being in the design world, which is, what we do with this show. It's what we do with Fun More Lean. But it's nice to kind of have both, I think.
Yeah, and it was great to just have the blogging community was really, really special.
It was like the beginning of design blogging.
It was fun to find each other and connect and share each other's like vision and similar like graphic art, colorful sensibilities and vibe with that. Like I met Justina from my blog and now we're
Yeah.
besties and so many other people. And I think just that has really created just so much, beautiful things for myself because, I think just having people, these like blog friends and creative friends in my life has really helped foster a really successful, I think career for me. Like I think just having people around and talking about ideas, talking about how to make money in this field, in this career, because I don't think anybody talks about or advocate about how to make money as a creative. There's so many creative outlets.
Yeah.
There's so many. Had I known there were like you could be an interior stylist, you can be assistant for photography, like in just in-house at Macy's even.
So many niche roles in our industry that people don't even realize. It's so true.
Instead, it was like in art, I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? Am I just gonna do printmaking, which is an old industrial way of printing lithograph?
But it's kind of beautiful. I mean, the way that you were making your own art for your space in the beginning, I mean, there's just something so beautiful about your whole story from beginning to now. And it's just rooted in a sense of wanting a space for yourself and celebrating it and having it be 100% you. And I think there's something just really special about that.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy that. And the blog really was a place for me to share that and, connect with other people similar in my situation, especially from like children of immigrants or anything like that. Like I think sharing my journey and connecting with people. And I think that's really how my blog and my career really grew. And, and the partnerships grew a little by little after 2015. It's really when I had fun partnering with all these brands and using that in my spaces and parlaying into my family's spaces and sharing these really meaningful and personal stories.
Yeah. And you've done so many amazing partnerships. Your Mitzi line is gorgeous.
Thank you. So is yours.
Thank you. I love your summer drop that came out. It was so pretty. We've actually spec'd one, the rattan, like upside down cone pendant.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that.
It's a great piece. And the sconce is so pretty too. So tell us a little bit about how, so you were doing Old Brand New, and then how did you start the process of beginning to design for others?
My brand partnership is really how I work with my clients. And my clients typically are my family and my friends.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of clients. I think I approach interior in a different way where I'm working with brands to create these really personal and meaningful stories in, these spaces that are my family and friends and myself and my own personal projects.
That's fascinating. That's really cool.
So much easier. It's so easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a few clients here where I do consultations, design consultations, or I create really easy mood boards, mock-ups, furniture layouts.
Yeah, like high level concepting.
Yeah, even surface treatments, color, things like that. But a lot of times it's really just working on my own projects. And a lot of my really fun friends who are living in either New York or Chicago, or my family, my aunt in Denver, and just really bringing their spaces to life and sharing their stories, because a lot of them are either renting or they own, but who haven't like prioritized their spaces, who are stuck, who are just in on a rut, and just helping them dabify their spaces and bring them a little bit of joy. And that's how I work. So at the end of the day, I know, as there's so many ways to design, right? Like you could be a flipper, you can be, you can do so many things. You can work with clients. Like I know you have so many clients and all your spaces are so beautiful. And I sometimes think like, oh my God, but like it requires such a team of.
Yeah, we're like 8 now.
That's amazing. I am still like me, myself, and I.
No, but that makes sense. Doing design in that way, you only need you, because it's really just about what you envision it to be, because it's so cool that you can distill your essence into these products and then create environments and worlds for them. And it's almost like you've created your own little like old brand new world.
I like to think that way. Yeah, I think, and it's really fun working with brands and working with. I do enjoy the challenge of the limitations of working with just like a single brand with like very specific products and coming up with something and mixing with vintage and lighting like that. And I think sometimes that is easier than
Yeah.
just you have an unlimited
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
and so you can just do so much. But I like both. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all interior designers, and at the end of the day, we just want to create these really bold, beautiful, meaningful spaces for people.
And it's so cool that it came from a passion just, that you had since you were young, which is just, I love stories like that because it makes me happy when people end up doing the things that maybe they didn't think they were going to do for their career, but it's the things that they love to do.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Had no idea this could have been something that was not even in my radar, like to be an interior designer, interior stylist, in anything, in any way of like, in any form. It was always just, okay, I'm going to be a chemical engineer, chemistry major. And then that switched into printmaking. Fine, I will do graphic design. But I still approach interiors in a very graphic design point of view. I see a space in a very 2D. When I do my mock-ups and I do my things on like Photoshop, it's still very like 2D and like how to hang art and paint. And there's still like a balance of how I see things but I think design in general, all across, whether it's fashion, interiors, they all share the same, foundation, right?
Yeah.
Like the same
Yeah.
the same principles of design. It's all very much about the hierarchy of things and the balance of materials and
Yeah. Scale, texture,
yeah,
color.
exactly.
Well, speaking of color, is such a huge part of the work that you do. What is it about color that kind of makes your old brand new world and how do you work with color?
Color for me started, I mean, I've just always loved color because especially like color, I love coloring contests. I love, and my book I wrote about like my love for Lisa Frank.
Love. Such an era.
I know, and I think my dad was a contractor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he would, and I remember him painting our bedroom, painting our living rooms colors that I thought, wow, it's such a powerful tool to really change a space, even if it's like
Yeah. It can affect your mood.
right,
Totally.
even if it's even if it's a small little dingy room, whatever. And I saw just like how much an impact it has on the space, and I think that's really how I started with color. And color for me is so just personal. It connects to your so many memories and stories. A lot of what I remember, a lot of my memories, which are starting to like get harder and harder to remember anything now. As I'm like, oh my god, but like when I see a color, I immediately think of, oh my god, that reminds me of that one time when I was studying abroad in Hong Kong, when I went to
Isn't it amazing how your brain can do that? I'm like that with scent. Like certain scents, I'm like immediately transported somewhere. And it's just crazy how your brain remembers things in that way.
yeah, and it's like, oh, this reminds me of that one color. I can't pinpoint, but it's like somewhere like a food. Oh, it's that one color of a milk tart or something.
Yeah.
And it could be food, it could be clothes, it could be anything from like a scarf or interiors of a space of some really beautiful restaurant or hotel. So for me, color just brings me back. It's a way of cataloging a lot of my memories, and that's how I really retreat. Like this is how I get back into all these stories.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like you choose really happy, uplifting, joyful colors. And I think it reflects in all of the work that you do. You kind of approach it with some zest and some gusto, which I love.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try to make the spaces feel lively and fun and cheerful.
Well, now I want to get into talking a little bit about the design process in general. Is there a favorite element you have about it?
Yes, I mean, the process, I think for me, I start with color a lot of times. I think finding color combinations that work in a space figuring out really unusual color combinations sometimes with in terms of just not just paint, but like with furniture. I also really love layout. I think figuring out a layout, a floor plan that really feels conducive to like entertaining or just lounging, things like that. I think that's what I love. But it's all, and then putting it all together, mocking it up into a space.
I feel like I get into flow mode when I start mocking stuff up. It's so
Yes, I
fun.
just love it. Rendering it into like and seeing it
Yeah.
in the 2D way. And I love, and then all of a sudden, and then seeing it in real life and how sometimes very similar it turns out as well. I'm like, oh my God, it actually, this, my vision came to life.
I know. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? How, when things turn out exactly how you envisioned them in your head.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying. And it's almost kind of like, oh, wow, like I dreamed this and now it's a physical space that people can have a memory in. It's just a very cool thing that I think we get to do in that sense.
I know. Do you ever take a moment after you finish the spaces and like just like, wow?
Yes. Every time we shoot, I'm always like, guys, I can't believe we did this.
Yeah. Like it's so special.
It's so special. I just feel so lucky that we get to do it.
After every makeover or every project, I always take a moment and just kind of like sit in the space myself and just really breathe in and just really appreciate, because I think sometimes we forget, like we just work on a project and we just go and then like, oh my God, after a shoot, after styling, it becomes it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I always take a moment and just soak it all in and really be proud of the project and proud of myself for bringing it to life. And I think sometimes us as creatives forget that. And
totally, I know it's so easy to be hard on yourself, especially when you complete a project, you only remember the little thing that went wrong or the things that are on your tick list that you still have to wrap up. But I think it's important, like you said, to be proud of yourself for, it's not easy to take a creative passion and turn it into a full-time career. And so for any designers listening, when you do have an install or you do get that project finished, just being really proud of what you've done, I think is a really important take-home message. Well, because you came in like sort of like a non-traditional way, and I didn't go to design school. Are there any design rules that you always follow, or are there some that you think are made to be broken?
I think there are design rules set in place. I think it's always good to understand like the foundation, the history, the principles, and really get to know, read books, read up on that. It could be like a design 101 book. You can maybe take a crash course in any design class. It could be graphic design, just to understand the fundamentals.
Totally.
I think that really helps in understanding how to design and then understand how to break the rules as well.
Yes.
You have to know the rules to break the rules.
I agree with that 100%.
Otherwise, you just don't know what you're doing. But then there is so much power and liberty in doing things that in a different way and coming, without that formal training. Sometimes that you get to do things with that are like different. I mean, with your point of view, with your personal experience, and I think to be open to that. And really allow yourself to be curious and allow yourself to be like, oh, and question every little design that you do. It's, I think, important. And just be open. I think just seeing your spaces and allow it to just have its grow or like I always love happy accidents. Lot of I always think mistakes or accidents are always really fun and challenging, and like it allows you to like pivot or find different troubleshooting. Is just one of my favorite ways to design sometimes, and
to learn. I mean, you learn so much every time you make a mistake, which is like so valuable as you're growing your firm and as you grow as a designer. The more mistakes, I mean, obviously you want to avoid making mistakes, but sometimes they happen. They always happen. And so it's more learning, I think, always.
Yeah. Or sometimes you learn it and then you adapt, or like sometimes these mistakes are like, oh my God, this can be a really cool design element that I did not know. Or like just being open to that. And you can adopt mistakes and make that into a design. And I think and turn it around and make it into your style. And I think that's the fun part of design. It's just having fun and being open and not being too serious about it. That's a really good way for me to design, at least. Like, I think one time we were on a shoot and I accidentally put like 3 lampshades stacked on top of each other. And I thought, oh my God, this is my new lamp collection. I'm going to design, it didn't make it into the Mitzi line, but
That's
like
so funny.
I loved it. I just loved this accidental moment. Like I just thought, you know what? Let's just stack these three shades together, just because it's easier, little safe space, and I just love the look of that.
Giving it height for sure.
Right, and it just gave me this different way of looking at this. Like, why don't we have these multi-layered shades like this?
That's so
And
funny.
so now I'm like, okay, this is my new collection. And so sometimes these little things, these moments and that's what I mean, like to just be open to like these really mundane ways of like moving around, doing things, but then you can actually see potential like style or design elements, and
Yeah.
then you can adopt that into product design and things like that.
Yeah, it's so true. Looking back through your career, have you had a mentor at all? And if so, how have they helped to shape your trajectory?
I think art school had some really amazing professors. Jimmy Lee, she was my professor in printmaking. I just loved her work ethic, and she was so meticulous about she worked in intaglio, which is copper plate etching. And she was so meticulous about working on these plates, and I just really loved that. And I just learned a lot about working that way. But I think friends, I think working and finding your own community, finding your one person, your one. I mean, I was really lucky to have Justina in my life, and how I think she was always like a really important role. She played a really important role in my creative trajectory as well.
And for those listening, Dabito is talking about Justina Blakely, who is from the Jungalow. And you guys both, I mean, you've like rocketed from having blogs to you have books, you have licensing, you have product. It's amazing how you guys sort of editorial from then into multifaceted companies.
Yeah, I think that's just I think we were really excited to bring each other along on whatever journey we're together. And yeah, she was a visionary. And I think,
Yeah.
and she also had a graphic design background as well. And I think it's really important to sometimes find that one person and grow together. And I think for me, I was very introverted. I still am, but I think the blog was really my tool to.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I know,
fascinating.
right?
You're so bubbly. That's so interesting.
I am now. I think, as you get older and as you get more comfortable, and I think as my career, as I figured out my worth, my talent, and things like that,
Yeah.
figuring out that I'm finally proud of what I can do. But that took a while, and I think the blog really helped me just open up and letting go and not be too precious my work. And also, it was a way for me to be positive, like to have a really positive outlook and have a really positive experience sharing my journey and just connecting with people. And so that in a lot of ways helped me become this more outgoing, more bubbly.
Yeah, well, it's empowering. I mean, you're kind of taking your interests and parlaying them into a bunch of different outlets, which is really empowering. That's such a great story. I love that.
Yeah, because as creatives, as artists, it can be a really lonely career. It could be really introspective.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about the blog and social media. You can find each other, you can find your community, and
it is important to have a community, especially I always say you need designer friends just like moms need mom friends, because you need people to bounce it off of. You need friends who understand what you're going through. Yes. And for you, I mean, it's amazing that you have that with Justina. You can talk about licensing, you can talk about product design and creation and all of those things. And it's, it's kind of niche. So you need to have friends that are in the same boat and know and can kind of give you a gut check when you need it.
Absolutely. I still send things like I'm picking out colors for my house, and I'm like second guessing myself. And let me just text. Even for me, a color enthusiast, a color lover, color person, I still sometimes struggle with.
Yeah, I think every designer, it's like the cobbler. It's the old joke. It's like a designer doing their own home is like a cobbler with no shoes.
Yes.
It's so true. Well, let's talk a little bit about your home. What do you think your home currently says about you? Or you could say, what your ground up is going to say about you.
I think I want this one to really try to get out of my comfort zone. I think really elevate my style even more and question a lot of like design elements and do things in a quirky, artful way. I think that's really what I'm trying to get at. Trying to work with like color palettes that are not usually my color palettes. I think really just getting out of my comfort zone and challenging myself. And I think that's the fun part of that.
I'm so excited to see it.
Me too. I can't wait to show you all. It'll be done in a few months.
Yeah, it's a huge milestone. Building a house is like a really big deal.
And now I want to do more.
I know. It's addicting for sure. I know. I love ground up build projects because you get to be involved on such a granular level, and then also such a, overarching conceptual level of like, what do you want people to feel like when they are in the home? But then it goes all the way down to the door hinges. So it's so fun. It's so much fun for people who love design. It's such a gift to be able to do it. Do you have any favorite places that you like to shop for home?
I love, of course, vintage. So wherever I go, I'm always any new city, any new country, I'm always like just searching what's the closest like thrift store, vintage store, antique store.
Such a good way to get around too. You also live in the best city for antiquing.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful here. I mean, we have Merchant House, which is really a beautiful curation of wonderful furniture, even like home decor, small goods, all the things. But yes, there are some really fantastic, beautiful pieces here.
Where do you find your inspiration? Is it social media? Is it travel? Is it kind of all of the above?
I mean, social media is so easy now, and it's also crippling as well because I'm constantly trying to reinvent, like, oh shit, this is out. This looks like what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, how is this already out? My house is not even out yet. How does this kitchen look like mine already?
I know. It's kind of crazy how there's one mind almost in terms of like where things are going. It's like algorithm based, but it's also not. It's really
It's this
crazy
weird design matrix that we're all in.
Yes, we're all living in the design matrix 100%.
Oh my gosh. And I feel like social media is wonderful. Instagram, I'm on there. I am scrolling and see it. It's beautiful. I save a lot. And I think that's wonderful. But going out, seeing things in person, I love going to touring houses.
Yeah.
Just seeing, even like if there's open houses, just, poking in and seeing how all the old homes were built, or, going to hotels, seeing how designers work and like how other designers create in these like beautiful spaces. Hospitality, like it's like it's the next level here, and especially in New Orleans. So many beautiful boutique hotels.
Oh my God, I know you have some unbelievable hotels.
I know. And so really going out and seeing things versus just, doom scrolling sometimes can really
it's very toxic. You really have to put a limit on it.
Doom scrolling it's a thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, I need to stop. Like,
I know. I've been starting to charge my phone on the opposite side of the room.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Oh my gosh. But, I think just, magazines also still excites me. Books, magazines, traveling. Of course, people always say traveling and going to different cities, going to different culture, different countries.
Yeah, but it does. I mean, it makes a big impact.
Seeing how different countries, different cities use color and design in different ways. I was just in Tokyo and Singapore a few months ago, and it's just exciting to see all these beautiful traditional homes and colonial homes, even getting inspiration from that.
And the hospitality, I mean, there's just such amazing hospitality design that you can draw from when you're traveling. It's like a wealth of information that just keeps on giving, which is amazing.
I know. But yeah, just seeing other designers and really enjoying all the other designers out there, learning about them, like even like seeing the 8100, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many designers I don't know.
I know. There were some really interesting new ones this year that I didn't know. And I feel like I'm finding new people on here that I wouldn't have otherwise found.
Yeah. And and so many people using color, especially. I think color has always been around. I think more and more people are using it, but I think it's never gone away. It's always been very classic, historic even. There's a historic color palette that's been around for centuries. So
I think we were in such a whitewashed era of sameness for 10 years. And I think color and individuality and a little bit of maximalism, I think it's people are craving things that are idiosyncratic a bit and that feel real too.
Yeah, I think social media is helping that drive that, you know,
Yeah.
colorful force. Because before it was just like TV, right? Like we just had TV, HGTVs, you see design here and there. And you had some blogs, but now it's like it's just everywhere and it's spreading. It's faster and faster, and it's going further. And I love that. But then sometimes I'm like, oh my god, am I on the trend, or should I try to look for another way? Oh, that is the crux of design. Sometimes, so I'm like, oh my god, trying to outdo myself, outdo design is it's just
I know you can't though, because then it's like you're constantly on a hamster wheel. I'm very like not anti. I will say I think I'm anti-trend because then it's like you want it to be timeless, you want it to be classic, you want it to withstand time, and I feel like it's really liberating also to be like, I don't, if I'm not caring about what the trends are, then you're not going to drive yourself nuts.
absolutely. I mean, I love trends in ways that where trends are bringing materials
Yeah.
to the masses. Like, you know, I think it's great to see people have more access to just different materials. Like, even like, I know like Zalige has been around for a little bit and it's been trendy, but like, I'm still using it. And I think it's just a beautiful material that
Yeah.
we have access, and it's finally accessible and more affordable.
Totally.
And I think that some trends are just meant to stay. It's just of accessibility.
Yeah. I like that point too about how, you know, as things become more popular, they also become more accessible. And there's something amazing about that because people can experience design in all different ways. And so I think that's a really good point. What do you think the 3 biggest influences on your aesthetic in your life have been?
3 biggest influence. I mean, I think I would say my aunt, she loved color. She was also really the first person I was able to see decorating in my family. Married and moved away in San Diego, and she was, I think, the first to buy a house in our family. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I'm her. Like I feel like, oh, she was excited about finally having her own space and finally making money with her husband,
Yeah.
like, had a budget and just really buying beautiful things. And she was also buying a lot of fake flowers and creating these beautiful bouquet, like beautiful floral arrangements. And I just saw this creativity in her. And I think that really set up, like light up something in me. She was always very supportive as well. And so I think that was very monumental in my, in just helping me, inspire me into this design journey. But I think, you know, again, so many of this community, the design community, I think really inspired me, from like Justina, Shavonda, Gardner, like I just having these people in the circle, being able to share and talk about things, not just design, about everything, like how to, you know, how to make it sustainable and how to make money out of it, and how to find our force and our worth. That's key, because I don't think we talk about it enough. Like, how do we make money in this thing? How do I charge my client? How do I charge clients on design and you know, this and that? Like,
I know, I feel like there is more as things have become more digital, there's more transparency, which is always really helpful between designers, because I think that's how you can grow your firm. It's how you can figure out how to structure your firm appropriately. And now there's resources too, like Business of Home is such a great resource. Like none of that was really around in the beginning. And so I think that's like incredibly helpful for designers listening in terms of like resources for growing the firm.
Yes, there are an abundance of resources that you can just look into. Like now I'm like, okay, how much should I charge for this? I just Google, okay, you can get a ballpark. People are sharing it on their blog posts. People are writing about it.
Yeah.
Just love that. I just love that transparency, because it's just, we don't talk about, and we talk, I know some people are really iffy about talking about money, but like, these are like the good ways of sharing money talk. These are like, the, you know, like just, it's not about like.
Yeah, it's about like growing your business. Yeah, it's career-based information.
Right. And then the last piece, I think, you know, I think my husband was a big part, you know, of helping me. I think just he was always such the stable, the rock in the relationship. And that really allowed me to be free and creative. And, you know, when I moved to New Orleans, he was the one that he bought this little tiny house, this ranch style house, like 3 months after we moved in. And he gave me full creative control. And I think that really helped blossom my career in many ways.
Oh, I love stories like that. It's like a romance within the business.
And now
so
I call
sweet.
him the most difficult client ever. He's always like, denying my designs. I started sharing some of my denied designs on Instagram because I will like send him these beautiful like renderings, and he's like, "No, that looks like poop."
No, that's hysterical. Oh my God, that's so funny. I love that.
What about yours? Is your partner like that? Like,
He only thing he ever cares about is if something is comfortable. Otherwise, he doesn't say anything. But it's also been we've been together for 12 years, and at this point, he knows better than to say anything about my design.
oh my god, I love that. I'm in 10 years and he still has all like I would say he's really great at organization, and actually he's I think maybe a former architect in his past life. So he's got really some amazing vision and point of view. So I would give him that.
I think it's good to have someone who's super organized and buttoned up, and then the creative is usually not the super organized person, which is myself.
Me
My
too.
husband is
Oh
like
my god.
meticulous, like his closet is color coordinated, like he's the most organized person. And I think the yin and yang of that is really important.
It is. In every relationship, there's always one who's always just a little bit, it's always a little bit loose or like,
Yeah. Creativity in general needs the buttoned up balance. And I think that it's super helpful, even just like in terms of aesthetic too. Like, you know, it's a check on making sure things are functional and practical. Like they're beautiful, but they're also functional and practical and etc.
I guess there's always, yeah, there's always the rule follower and then the rule
breaker.
breaker.
Yes.
Yes. So that's the creative dynamic in any, I guess,
I
relationship.
love that. Well, now we're going to get into our rapid fire, our take 10, our rapid fire questions.
Ooh, okay.
So what is your favorite food?
Okay, so many, but I know Hainanese chicken rice.
Ooh, yum.
It's a very simple, comforting dish. I had a lot when I was in Singapore, but you know, my grandpa was from Hainan, and I think that's one of the dishes that really just brings me back and really reminds me of my time with my grandpa.
That's so special. I love that. Favorite drink?
I love a dirty martini.
Yes, me too.
Gin lately, actually. A gin. Dirty
Classic.
martini. Yep. I started dabbling in like blue cheese olives, but
ooh, fancy.
it's still a little weird for me, but someone mentioned I should try it, and it's still a little much, but
it's an acquired taste for sure. But I do think if you like the briny oliveness, the blue cheese will it will eventually, you'll like it.
So, but yeah, there is a recipe I'm trying to make right now with like there's these like Asian pickling cucumbers that I'm gonna try with making like.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah. So it's my new concoction that I'm gonna try to make this for the holidays.
I love it. Favorite film?
I would say I loved In the Mood for Love. I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, those are both really good.
They're always at the top. I just love them.
Favorite hotel?
Ooh, favorite hotel. That's a tough one. There's so many. I will probably have
And
to
you
say,
travel a lot.
oh my gosh, I was just in Singapore at the Raffles, but no,
I'm dying to go there.
it was really fun. I'm gonna have to say somewhere local, New Orleans. So I'm gonna say Peter and Paul because I got married there.
Ooh, good choice. I was gonna say you're like blessed with some seriously stylish hotels in New Orleans. And Peter and Paul is like one of the most stylish hotels anywhere, not just in New Orleans.
So beautiful, so charming, so just tastefully done.
Yeah, it's amazing. Favorite city?
Ooh, oh my gosh. Hong Kong has a really special, I mean, I love Los Angeles, but I think because I studied abroad in Hong Kong and then I was a flight attendant for a little bit for a Hong Kong airline.
That's such a cool job.
So I used to fly there back and forth 3 times a month. And so, gosh, there's something special about Hong Kong for me.
I love that. Favorite bedding? We always ask, I feel like designers are very particular about their bedding.
Well, since you're asking, I do have a collection with Brooklinen.
Ooh,
it just came out.
Oh my God, congrats. That's so huge.
Thank you. And so we have some really beautiful bedding. I like luxe. I'm a sateen person, and so my husband likes linen, but I like just the sateen. It's just very silky.
It's so silky. Yeah, it feels so nice, and you can use it all year round.
Yep. And so, yeah, our collection has some really beautiful patterns. We have a classic traditional, like a ecot sheets and some really beautiful textures for the waffle blankets. And yeah.
Oh my God, I have to go look it up right now. I'm so excited. That's amazing. Look at you. That's awesome. Tea or coffee, and how do you take it?
Tea all the way. I don't drink coffee, and I just like tea on its own. Or I love herbal tea, so a little bit sweetened, like Asian herbal tea or like boba tea,
Yeah.
boba milk tea. I do like my tea iced. Or if I'm dim sum, I guess it's just always, chrysanthemum tea for me, but tea all the way.
Yeah. I've become a major tea convert because I can't have coffee anymore. And I'm like obsessed with it now. I have like 50 different versions in my house.
Oh my God, I love that. Do you have a tea drawer?
I do. I have a tea drawer. I have a tea kettle. I love it. I'm newly into the tea world and I'm very obsessed with it.
Ooh, I'm like, that's what I need, like a little tea closet, a little
yes,
tea.
it's so fun. Favorite playlist?
Ooh, I create all my playlists on Spotify. I've been sharing that on my blog too. But I just love music. I need music constantly. I call them jukeboxes.
Oh my God, that's so cute. We should link them. Send it to me and we'll link it in the show notes.
Okay. So yeah, I've been creating these jukeboxes on Spotify. I've had like 42 now, but yeah, I'm trying to create a fall winter one. Do you have what's your favorite song right now?
I've been really into Leon Bridges right now. I think it's like
he's
slow
good.
and
yeah,
it's like relaxing, especially when it's cozy and cold at home. I've been really into him.
Oh, good choice. Man, I'm gonna need to add him.
Yeah. Favorite weekend activity?
Oh gosh, antiquing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Going to the thrifts, the vintage stores, just seeing what's out there. And like a lot of times there are things that I don't even know about. Like there's so many things that I'm like, oh, what is this weird, quirky design? And then you Google or you ask the owner and they tell you some stories about it. Well, this is from 19th century from Paris. And I'm like, oh wow.
It's so crazy how these pieces have just lives of their own. It's amazing.
I know. And so that's what we like to do. Yeah.
I love that. And our last question of our Take 10, which is always the hardest, I think, is favorite design book.
That is so hard. Oh my gosh. I mean, I love Pamela Shamshuri, so I just loved her. I love flipping through that new book.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, that was really good. I also loved, I think Justina's The New Bohemians really, really started something in design and really created a moment. And so working on that with her on The New Bohemians was really fun. And
yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah, I think just understanding, just like styling and figuring out what your style is. But yes, I love the greats, of course, like Kelly Wearstler has, of course, some beautiful books that are so maximalist in materials and things like that. So many.
I know there's so many. I always say it's the hardest question because it's like asking to pick a favorite child.
Yeah, because all these designers just are so unique and interesting, and they really help just inform a lot about design. And you learn, and I learned so much, just from what they pick for like trims and door casing. Even like I'm like, oh my God, a door! I want to see more doors. Like I had such a hard time finding doors.
Okay, there's a book that you need. It's called Get Your House Right.
Okay.
And it's architectural elements to use and avoid. And it's Ben Pentreath, who we just had on the podcast, who is incredibly, incredibly talented. And I think everyone building a house from the ground up should have that book.
Okay, that's good to know.
And then obviously the holy trinity of Gil Schafer books.
All right, getting them.
Yes. Well, Dabito, this was so fun. I would love to ask a final few words. Do you have advice for someone looking to define their own interior style?
My advice is just be really curious and be really open about just trying to learn, absorb as much as possible and mix and match. Try not to follow too many rules. And along the way, you'll figure out what will work and what won't work. I think it's really just trying a lot of things and not doubting yourself too much, because I think that's how I started. It's just, I'm just gonna mix this up. Who cares if it works or not? Like and along the way, you will just build that confidence in your design, in your color choices, in your furniture selection, in the way you figure out scale. It's really just moving things around, layout wise, painting your walls, different color combinations. Even I still struggle with, to this day. Sometimes I'll have to paint a wall like 3 times, and it's
Yeah.
costly, but it took me, sometimes you just don't know until the entire wall is painted.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Still, like a swatch really doesn't help sometimes, but that's rare. That's because, the more you do it, the more you.
You feel more confident.
Yeah, I think with everything, it takes practice. With everything, it's just really just like anything in life, all just like trying to learn, unlearn, and practice, and just give yourself some grace and have fun with it.
I love that. That's such a beautiful note to end on. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dabito.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. Well, where can listeners find more about you and your brand?
You can find me on Instagram at Dabito, and on my blog, Old Brand New, or you can shop in stores at Brooklinen, or
And your
Mitzi,
book.
our Mitzi line. But yeah, or my book, Old Brand New.
I love it. Well, Dabito, thank you so much. I hope I get to see you soon, and good luck with the rest of the house. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of Talk Shop. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with more thoughtful discussions and amazing guests. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube so you never miss an episode. And of course, follow me at Ariel Okin. See you next week.